We're trying to do it.
Yeah.
We never seen it. Like five. I really watched.
Especially with the kid, right?
Because the town was formed by seven, right?
Yes.
We moved in a.
That is still 3 days away. I'm working with our tomorrow. Used to be better.
So that if.
I missed that.
Yeah.
We also figured out later.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just approved it for the weather.
Five video players. I think they're.
Exactly. I remember us moving it.
So, like, he's in Middle Tennessee, does he?
Yes.
Ben's used to him.
Yeah.
It's
been good.
But.
Yeah.
It's kind of like-
So 440.
But I think-
But this is supposed to be the same.
I don't, it's not like 5 o'clock. So.
There's one storm cloud right above that. Fine.
So what do they do in the gym?
I think it'd be funny. Maybe this is like, I should have.
You don't have any practice. Will that be the last one?
She was one of my tail end.
Yeah.
I thought it was ridiculous and it just cost,
Is that,
just
you're not on that?
after the first 6 months of.
It's supposed to be like 7
I'm like, oh, this is.
I think so far.
There's no way for it.
They're on this top
Exactly.
teams.
Oh, my God, yes. I'm so sorry. Well, I thought like this. And I don't say, but they don't do the last week. They don't do
It's already, I said normally they'll last 6 months.
Okay.
Not gonna stop.
Yeah.
It's super competitive, doesn't
Yeah.
how to.
Because I remember the teams were like I was win.
There's something going on.
And then the next one, so I'm like, science, how I led building, they have. like,
You're right.
So, it's like.
Wow.
There's.
There's, so I just sent them like. And then I was like, oh, God.
But the things they were.
That's.
I give up, but I'm not.
Yeah, no, but no, I do remember that now.
Went to,
My tomatoes. I just, I had one of them, depending on where they were.
if you do so.
It was only one.
Yeah, it's just one.
The other ones are more-
Don't do it. It wouldn't matter. It's the wind just. It's been that. Oh, gosh.
It was like, oh, when you shut. I think this is on my end.
Guys, stand and join us for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Indivisible.
So we got out of the way, there's no good news, no answers. So James, you're gonna recognition of the school board for School Board Appreciation Month.
Yes, so this is the month of appreciation for the school board, so I just wanted to say thanks for everything you guys do. As a volunteer position that I don't think a lot of people actually realize it's a volunteer position until they start digging into it, so I just want to thank you for all the hours you put in, and this board has always been about advocating for kids and for our staff, and so I just wanted to thank all of you. So, thanks. Fighting crowd.
All right, so moving on to reports, we have a reminder negotiation meeting on 29 May at 5 PM at the Mount Home Junior High Library. So here we got a reminder for the annual student meals fees increase hearing. That'd be June 17th at 5:45. We have a reminder for our annual budget hearing. That'll be on the same day at 6, June 17th. Moving on to the superintendent report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I wanted to share with you some end of the year ice station data. And so what we've got here is just a graph that shows our district progress as a whole, and this is for K through 4. And so we had set a goal of a 10% improvement, and I'm pleased to say that our folks knocked it out of the park here. We hit 11% as a district, and then this is the breakdown by grade of growth. So blue is where we started, red is where we ended. And so I just wanted to point that out. This was very positive this year, and you know, we break this down further, we can look at, you know, by school, by teacher, it really helps our staff and our principals as we look at, you know, where we're doing well and then areas where we can certainly improve upon. But I just wanted to thank our staff and our administrators for working hard and hitting that goal this year. So thank you.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Okay, and then just a couple reminders, and this is from State Track, you probably don't want to see that, so. These are actually the pictures that our former student took, so. He was on there.
But where's Ann?
Well,
So we do have a state champ, we did get a state
we don't need
champion.
to get into that, so. The other thing I just wanted to remind, we've got Bennett graduation Thursday. Mountain Home High School graduation on Friday. Last day of school tomorrow. It's been a pretty crazy week for everybody. I surprised some of the folks that are alive and awake right now with the way it's been, but that's okay. And then we've got a lot going on in the summer though still. We've got schools taking staff members to PLC training this summer. I believe we have staff from every building who's going to attend, and really that's the focus next year as we continue looking at our academic goals and our literacy goals. And so school may be out, but the staff will be busy in the summer. So just wanted to point that out, and then happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So I've got a couple questions. I know recently there've been a couple of articles written with information pertaining to schools about our literacy levels, our class sizes, and about our PSMI grant being on hold.
Okay.
As far as we knew, the PSMI grant was moving forward.
Yeah, so a couple things with that PSMI grant, the only hangup right now is the funding portion from Congressman Simpson's office. The grant itself, right now, we're in design phase right now. We've been awarded that grant. We actually are able to now submit and get reimbursement. The architect is still working to finalize those plans. And so we'll continue once that is ready, before we even move into construction phase of the grant, your design phase has to be, I believe it's 80% complete. So we're on pace to continue with that. Congressman Simpson's office, hopefully we'll hear on that sometime in August. From what we've been told by the staff member there is we're at the top of the priority list. It'll be approved. It's really gonna come down to what Congress does with funding. If it's not another continuing resolution, it's highly likely all of those other funding mechanisms will become part of the full budget that's there. So we're proceeding as normal. Dominique's helping with the hang up right now. Part of this is the lease hang up, trying to get the site appraised. I've emailed the Corps of Engineers, haven't heard anything back. Dominique's gonna help apply some pressure there, so hopefully we hear back from them, but we have to have that piece of property appraised before they'll approve the lease for that site. So appraisal, and then the other big thing will be the environmental assessment that needs to be done on that piece of property. So we're just moving forward, it's not really on hold. We're still in the design phase of it, so we're plugging along with it. And then one other thing I did want to address, there was a mention of our student to teacher ratio being 25-1. I can tell you this is something that's reported every year. It's not data that can be manipulated. It's data that comes out of our student management system, and our actual ratio last year was 17.2 to 1. And that was what they used for funding for 2024. And so they'll break that down. If you go to the Transparent Idaho page, they have us at 18-1, which pulls data, the same data that we're looking at. So I'm not sure where that number came from. That number is very similar to what you will see in districts our size and larger, and some of the districts smaller. There's districts that certainly have lower numbers on that student teacher ratio, but there are also districts with much higher ratios there as well.
On to Board of Trustees, report. Anybody have anything to? Okay. I'll bring it up, Republican report. Okay, so I take a motion for approval of the agenda on the addendums.
I so moved.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Consent agenda. Take motion to approve that, unless you want something pointed out.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have no delegates, there's no unfinished business. New business. Approval of the bid proposal, so Scott, for junior high dry fire system.
Good evening. I did not give you very much information in that the dry fire system is unique in that it normally stays pressurized with air. The piping is starting to fail, which allows the potential of water to come in. We've had a few water failures, but replacing that system allows us in the future to not have a catastrophic issue with water when we don't need water. And that's where I'm seeking your approval to move with replacing the dry fire pipe system. Any details you want to know that I?
Is it the whole system, Scott? You replace the whole system or just pieces?
Just the dry pipe portion of the system.
So
So
it'll all be new, just the dry pipe?
just the dry piping, yes. So from the fire riser room all the way to the end of that system. So
Which dry system is what keeps causing issues.
correct. There's been a number of issues with, so the piping is had water just from pump failures, et cetera, just humidity, and that piping is rusting out. And if the system's not able to maintain, I want to say 20 PSI, we try to maintain 40 PSI. When it gets down, it actuates a valve and then the water becomes live in that system. Then we manually have to drain the system. So
You remember that's at the new school.
the 30-year-old pipe is starting to fail.
We'll make a motion to approve the bid proposal for the, Mountain Junior High dry fire system.
Okay.
Replacement, piping.
Maybe the motion on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
All against? Alright.
Awesome, thank you.
Fix our pipes. Okay, discussion and ruling on what policies the board would like in place. Well,
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you know, we've been working with ISBA to adopt their policies. And it's been a slow and painful process. And so Sharon and I met with April Hoy, who's in charge of that process, and we just told her, like, the sheer volume of policies is too much. And so really, what we want to do is get some direction from the board on what you'd like to see for us to start focusing on with ISBA. And one of the comments I made to April was, when there's a federal law or a state law, it seems very redundant to have a policy that mirrors those things unless it's required in state code. And what you'll find with a lot of the policies is that's exactly what happens. And so we just wanted to get some guidance from you on what you would like to see us have ISBA start whittling down. And then what they're planning on doing is reaching out to the board sometime in June to see if that's more of what you're looking for. And hopefully that helps with that process.
I mean, personally, if we have state law and federal law that says this is what we gotta do, having a policy is, I mean, just puts more work on everybody else to come up with a policy that we already have in place. The only thing I could see where we would need something would be where you have a disagreement between the state and the feds. As to, when the state says we gotta do one thing, and the feds say something else.
Sure.
Or we may want some clarity on that. But, I mean, what do you guys, and
Yeah, I mean, anything that's state or federal policy or state or federal law, we wanna have a policy. You know, like I said, if there's something that's missing in one and added to the other, I don't know that, you know, we'd have to have some way to solve that. And whether ISB's got a separate policy that covers both of them, if there's something different between one or the other.
Yeah.
Then I'd like to see that particular policy before we approve it, see which, you know, I mean,
Sure.
we want to follow what the state is, unless it's tied to some kind of funding. If it's tied to funding for the feds, then we have to go to the fed policy.
Yeah, I think a good example is like your Family Medical Leave Act. Like, that's federal law.
yeah,
So why are we creating a policy when there's already federal law?
Just reinventing the wheel and making a lot of extra work.
so if we do away with those, some of those policies that we already have, will we, in the policy section on our website, can we put a link to where that's at for people to find?
Yeah, like in code or in federal regulation. Yeah,
They'll be on the bottom of
Yeah.
the policies.
Well, if we do away with that policy, let's say we do away with the family medical leave policy, because it's already in federal law. On our website where we have all of our policies, just put a hyperlink to where they can get that from federal law. As a replacement.
you know, part of it is to try to limit the policies so that you have policies that you use.
Right.
You know, you look at ours right now and there's a lot of them in there, you go, why is that there?
Mhm.
So, and it's just, you know, the course of decades and decades of policy. And then, you know, it's not necessarily that a policy gets deleted. unless something comes in and replaces it. And so that was part of looking at what ISBA's policies are, you know, they're gonna be the most up to date on what's occurring, but there's also a lot that they build that are not mandated by anything. And, you know, I think that there's some that need to be there, but I also think there's some you go, like, when you get the list, you go, come on. Like, to have some of that is just unnecessary, it seems. So, I know it's been frustrating for Sharon just with how many policies they've given her to have come to be approved. And so this, I think, will be help Sharon with that process too, to be able to say, you know, let's focus on these 20 policies for next year during the first half of the year or something like that. So.
Plus, a lot of your policies just seem to be policy have policy. I was like, it's just, there's no rhyme or reason why to have a policy for it. And again, like James said, if it's already in Idaho code, why are you repeating the policy?
Right.
Unless code says you have to have policy. So it's just, yeah, I read some of those, I'm like, that's already in code, you know, type of stuff, but.
Well, and I really would like to commend you too, Sharon, because you took it on. I mean, back in the day, what we had for policy and before you actually tackled that.
Yeah.
I would say that there was a lot of need there to straighten some of that out.
I think the last update was like 1974.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I commend you, thank you.
No, thank you.
So we need a motion on that.
I don't think so. Gives us direction.
They want something
Unless-
specific?
No.
No.
Hold on just for a second. No, because it's a discussion, so.
And then moving right along, the next item is, it's policy related as well. We are not required to have 3 readings in policy, and so we would ask that you approve reducing that from 3 readings to 2. And that would require a motion.
Any questions?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Suppose we gotta have a motion first.
Yeah.
We agree. Reduction of time, go work.
Motion, second, yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Policy revision, first reading, personal leave policy.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have a couple of changes in the personal leave policy, and it's 2 things: change the term from professional to personal, which is what it is, and then to define our employee management system as Skyward Cumulative Program. So I'd ask for your approval of those changes.
It does not change the meaning of the policy, it just
Change the.
corrects some of the words in there.
So can we make instead of using whatever the specific program is, can we make it more generic to just a personal management program? Or personal
Probably
management
used this
software?
one for a while, though.
If we could,
It's pretty best.
any reason to go away from cumulative in the next couple years?
No,
Okay.
Okay,
our accounting software, HR, all that, so I don't see us
changing it.
changing that anytime soon.
Principles you want to change again?
No. They're going, what?
I'll take a motion to approve the policy revision, personal leave policy for certified employees on first reading.
I so move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on, resolution 2506, emergency closure of Mount Home High School due to power outage. Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is a resolution we can submit to the state since we had to cancel school due to a power outage that has been addressed and will be further addressed. So it says emergency closure of Mountain Home High School, power outage be it so resolved that the Board of Trustees of Mountain Home School District number 193 take the needs of the safety and well-being of the district students in the highest regard and did declare an emergency closure of Mountain Home High School on May 9th, 2025 due to a power outage authorized this 20th day of May 2025. So with your approval, we can then go ahead and submit that day to the state as an emergency closure.
Any questions? Take a motion to approve the emergency closure.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approve the Mountain Home School District 25-26 education plan.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your packet this month is the education plan for next year. This is customary to approve it this month. There's not really any giant changes in here. Of interesting note, though, I'm not even sure if the state is going to require this to be submitted next year. They've already told us they're no longer going to require us to submit calendars to the State Department.
So
I think it's good practice to continue approving both items. And if they don't require them to be submitted, we'll still maintain them. So I would ask for your approval of the 2025-26 education plan.
any questions? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the Mountain Home School District 25-26 education plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval to participate in the school lunch and breakfast program. Levi.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ask that we participate in the school lunch and breakfast program.
Kind of funny to approve participating the month before we raise the price of it. Any questions?
Nope.
Take a motion to approve the participation in the school lunch and breakfast program.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, authorization for the new copy release, with the civil office automation, Jonathan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you should have seen in my last couple of board reports, our production department has been trying to get some damaged parts on one of our production copiers replaced for the past 2 or 3 months. This copier is at end of life, and our vendor hasn't been able to find replacement parts. At the moment, it's still functional, but the recommendation is to replace the device before it completely fails. The replacement would be the same model as our second newer printer. It basically just be replacing the old one with the current generation upgrade. It would be leased coterminous with our current lease through Pacific Office. So just when that rolls around, we'll be able to renew with a new lease. They are offering to buy out the device at the end of this lease as well for us. The rate for a 50-month co-term lease is $1,404.14 for a total of $70,207. So I'd like your approval for this new lease to replace our equipment, keep it up to date.
With that lease, do they provide Tom and all that with it too?
Yep, so it's the same, basically the same way we've been dealing with our printers so far. So they provide consumables, they come out and handle all of the repairs. And their repair team has been great. They've done what they can to try to get the old one up and running, so it'd be the same service.
Any questions on the copy? I'll take a motion to approve the authorization for the new copy release and Pacific Office automation.
So moved.
All in favor?
Right.
Alright, so time to appoint the temporary clerk of the board for the upcoming executive session of employee evaluation action. I'll do it. You'll do it?
Awesome. Awesome.
I was gonna wait as long as you could.
Notice I played that one very well.
She was waving the paper over here. Alright, so executive session action, I would take a motion that we move to executive session for labor contract matters and employee evaluation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Karen, roll call?
Trustee Knox, aye. Trustee Perez,
Aye.
trustee Donahue,
Aye.
trustee Betty Ganetta is absent, so Mr. Chairman.
Aye. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of School District number 193 recess from an open meeting into the following executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Title 74, Chapter 2, Section 74-2, subsection 3, subsection 4, subsection C, subsection 6, subsection A. Open meeting, regular meeting, executive session, Section 74-204, subsection 3, open meeting, executive session, 74-206, subsection 1, subsection B. To consider the evaluation of public school employee and 74-206, subsection 1, subsection J. To consider labor contract matters, Idaho Code. Be it further resolved, the following executive session, Board of Trustees will convene in the public session for further business or adjournment of the meeting. All right, with that, we are in executive session.
Great.